The world of fame and modern celebrity has always been governed by a carefully constructed illusion of perfection. For decades, the public has looked up at the silver screen, the concert stages, and the glossy magazine covers, viewing global stars as almost mythic figures who operate on an entirely different plane of existence. We are accustomed to a narrative of pristine, glamorous lives, impeccable public relations management, and flawlessly executed public appearances designed to project ultimate success. When this illusion shatters, it usually happens in a dramatic, high-stakes fashion that dominates the evening news cycles and fills the front pages of major international publications. Traditional scandals often involve high-stakes legal battles, massive financial downfalls, or deeply serious moral failings that leave the public shocked, saddened, or disillusioned. These are the heavy moments that redefine careers in a tragic light, leaving an indelible mark on pop culture history. However, there is an entirely different category of public exposure that rarely gets the same serious journalistic analysis, yet it captures the collective imagination of the internet in a far more enduring and bizarrely delightful way. These are the moments where the carefully polished machinery of celebrity public relations completely breaks down, not under the weight of a monumental tragedy, but under the sheer force of absolute absurdity. Instead of feeling horrified or disappointed by these unique occurrences, the public finds themselves utterly captivated by situations that feel less like real life and more like a poorly written sitcom or a surreal dream sequence. When the modern media landscape shifts its focus toward these lighter, more ridiculous controversies, it reveals a fascinating truth about our relationship with fame. We love to see the rich and famous succeed, but we absolutely cherish the moments when they prove themselves to be completely, hilariously human in the most public way possible. This phenomenon has sparked endless debates across global online communities, where millions of people gather to reminisce about the times when the Hollywood elite found themselves trapped in situations that were entirely of their own making and thoroughly ridiculous. Before we begin our deep dive into these legendary moments of public relations, chaos, and celebrity missteps, consider taking a brief moment to join our growing community by subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications, ensuring you never miss our detailed explorations into the most fascinating corners of modern pop culture, history, and media anomalies. By joining us, you will stay informed as we continue to unpack the strange narratives that shape our entertainment world. The digital age has completely changed the way we consume, process, and remember these specific instances of public embarrassment. In the past, a strange celebrity moment might be forgotten after a few weeks, quickly buried under the relentless, fast-moving news cycle of traditional television and print journalism. Today, the internet acts as a permanent living archive where every strange phrase, every awkward movement, and every bizarre excuse is preserved forever in the form of memes, viral videos, and endless discussion threads. Recently, a massive conversation erupted on one of the internet's largest community platforms, where a simple question was posed to the collective consciousness of the web. The inquiry sought to uncover the most profoundly absurd celebrity scandals of all time, looking for those specific instances that still bring a smile to people's faces years after they occurred. The response from the global community was overwhelming, drawing in tens of thousands of active participants who eagerly contributed their favorite memories of Hollywood stars, completely losing control of their public narratives. What made this discussion so fascinating was not the presence of malicious intent or cruelty, but rather a shared sense of joy at the sheer comedy of these situations. It became a celebration of the bizarre, a collection of historical moments where the unpredictability of human behavior collided with the intense pressure of the spotlight, resulting in absolute entertainment gold. As we prepare to unpack the specific incidents that top this definitive list of comedic controversies, it is worth examining the strange atmosphere that allows these situations to thrive in the first place. Often, a funny scandal begins with a complete disconnect between reality and a celebrity's perception of themselves or their surroundings. When a star is surrounded by massive teams of agents, publicists, managers, and assistants, they can easily become isolated from how ordinary people live, think, and communicate. This creates a unique bubble where a celebrity might believe a specific action, defense mechanism, or explanation is perfectly reasonable, while the rest of the world looks on in utter bewilderment. Whether it is an international superstar attempting to navigate a routine encounter with law enforcement with an unexpected level of theatricality, or a beloved performer making a bizarre choice in front of live television cameras, the underlying thread is always the same. It is the sudden, jarring realization that despite their millions of dollars, immense global influence, and professional training, these individuals are capable of finding themselves in the exact same kind of awkward, embarrassing, and nonsensical predicaments that ordinary people experience, just played out on a much grander, televised stage. The upcoming chapters of this exploration will take us through an incredible variety of historical and modern incidents that have left an indelible mark on the internet's collective memory. We will examine how a single, bizarrely specific quote delivered during a standard traffic stop could instantly overshadow a massive global entertainment campaign and become an overnight catchphrase. We will look back at the era of live television mishaps that permanently redefined how we view authenticity in the music industry, and how an artist's spontaneous reaction to a technical failure became an enduring piece of pop culture iconography. We will also explore the strange world of constructed identities, where linguistic choices and cultural backgrounds became the center of an intense, yet ultimately hilarious, public investigation that left commentators scratching their heads. From the quiet suburban neighborhoods where celebrities have attempted to literally hide from their problems in the most literal sense possible, to high-profile courtrooms that transformed into stages for deadpan comedy and viral line deliveries. These stories represent the absolute pinnacle of public relations surrealism. Get ready as we set the stage for a comprehensive countdown of the most unforgettable, laugh-inducing moments in the history of fame, proving that sometimes reality is far stranger and much funnier than fiction. The journey into the archives of absolute public relations absurdity begins in the early autumn of 2020, an era when the world was already deeply strange, but Hollywood managed to make it just a bit more surreal. The setting was the leafy, affluent streets of a quiet neighborhood, where paparazzi were actively tracking the prominent British actor Dominic West. Following a wave of sudden, intense media speculation regarding his relationship with a young co-star on a major period drama project, the pressure was mounting for the actor to address the brewing controversy. What the public expected was a carefully worded statement issued through an elite London public relations firm, filled with standard legalese and requests for privacy. What they received instead was a physical spectacle that looked like a scene ripped directly from a slapstick comedy movie. Desperate to avoid the flashing cameras of the photographers stationed near his residence, the actor reportedly attempted to execute a hasty retreat during a routine morning jog, a maneuver that ultimately resulted in him quite literally hiding inside a large manicured suburban bush. The image of a critically acclaimed dramatic actor known for playing intense intellectual roles crouched low within the foliage to escape detection became an overnight sensation, perfectly encapsulating the sheer panic that can grip a celebrity when their public image is threatened. Yet the comedy did not end with the actor in the shrubbery. In an effort to completely neutralize the narrative and prove to the global media that everything was perfectly fine within their household, Dominic West and his wife took the unprecedented step of staging a formal, outdoor press conference directly on their front lawn. Standing side by side in front of a wall of flashing cameras, the couple maintained frozen, polite smiles while executing an incredibly theatrical display of marital unity. Instead of speaking at length, they handed the gathered journalists a physical, handwritten note that explicitly declared their marriage was completely strong and that they were very much still together, the image of two wealthy, successful adults handing out handwritten reassurance notes like school children to a crowd of international journalists elevated the entire situation from a standard relationship scandal into a masterpiece of performance art. A story that people still revisit whenever they need a reminder of how wonderfully bizarre celebrity damage control can truly get. Transitioning from the quiet streets of England to the fast-paced world of American morning television, we encounter another legendary moment of linguistic and cultural confusion that completely took over the internet. In the same year of 2020, Hilaria Baldwin, the wife of prominent actor Alec Baldwin, found herself at the very center of an intense digital investigation regarding her background, her upbringing, and her distinct fluctuating accent. For years, the public had understood her to be of Spanish descent, a narrative that seemed completely supported by her public appearances and interviews. However, internet sleuths began digging into her past, uncovering evidence that she was actually born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts under a completely traditional American name. The tipping point for this entire controversy, and the moment that permanently cemented it in the Hall of Comedic Fame, was a specific clip from an appearance on a morning lifestyle show. While demonstrating a healthy recipe in the studio kitchen, she paused mid-sentence, stared blankly at the ingredients before her, and apparently completely forgot the English word for cucumber. Asking the host for assistance with an exaggerated Spanish pronunciation, the clip went absolutely viral, serving as the ultimate symbol of what the internet perceived as a completely fabricated, highly elaborate cultural persona. The sheer absurdity of an individual who spent their entire youth and academic career in New England, suddenly losing the ability to identify a basic garden vegetable in her native language, was too much for the internet to ignore. Even though she later released lengthy explanations clarifying that she was raised in a bilingual household and frequently mixed her languages when she was stressed or excited, the damage was completely done. The cucumber incident became an immortal meme, a shorthand joke for anyone attempting to project an identity that does not quite align with their actual reality, and it remains a masterclass in how a single, awkward culinary moment can completely overshadow years of careful branding. To truly understand how deep these moments of public relations chaos can go, we have to travel back to the year 2004, to the stage of Saturday Night Live, a live television institution where careers are made, and in one specific instance completely unraveled in a matter of seconds. Ashlee Simpson, a rising pop star at the time who was heavily marketed as an authentic, edgier alternative to the mainstream pop princesses of the era, was scheduled to perform her second song of the night. The tension was high, the cameras were rolling live to millions of households across the United States, and the band began to play the introductory chords. However, due to a massive technical glitch behind the scenes, the pre-recorded vocal track for her previous hit single, a song she had already performed earlier in the evening, began blasting through the studio speakers while her microphone remained away from her face. The illusion of live vocal authenticity was shattered instantly. Exposed in the most brutal way possible on a show known for its unforgiving live format, what followed was a sequence of physical movements that will forever be etched into the history of television disasters. Unsure of how to react to the glaring error, and with her backing band awkwardly trying to play along with the wrong track, the young singer began performing a highly bizarre impromptu line dance. Hopping from foot to foot in a desperate attempt to look casual, or perhaps treat the moment as a deliberate joke. When it became completely obvious that the dance was not saving the situation, she simply gave up entirely, turning around and walking completely off the stage while the recorded vocals continued to echo through the studio. The sheer panic of that moment, combined with the utterly mismatched choreography, turned a standard lip-syncing mishap into a historic cultural event. Demonstrating the sheer vulnerability of modern pop stardom when the underlying technology fails to cooperate. As the years progressed, the nature of these public meltdowns evolved from tech failures to full-scale behavioral spectacles, leading us directly into the unforgettable era of 2011, which was completely dominated by the public actions of Charlie Sheen. Following his highly publicized firing from a massively successful network sitcom, the actor did not retreat into privacy to consult with legal teams or publicists. Instead, he embarked on an unprecedented scorched earth media campaign, granting incredibly chaotic interviews to any major news outlet that brought a camera to his mansion. It was during a legendary conversation on a national morning news program that the actor unleashed a torrent of highly specific, bizarre catchphrases that instantly infected the global vocabulary. He confidently declared to the bewildered interviewer that he was operating on a completely different level of consciousness, possessed tiger blood, and was fueled by an ancient, unexplainable force that guaranteed he was constantly winning. The public watched in absolute fascination as a highly paid television star completely abandoned the concept of conventional public relations, replacing it with a series of manic monologues about his own perceived greatness. The phrase "winner, winner, Sheen dinner" became an overnight internet sensation, and for several months the entire world was completely transfixed by the sheer energy of his public defiance. It was a scandal that felt entirely detached from reality, a moment where a celebrity completely embraced the absurdity of their situation and leaned into the chaos with a level of enthusiasm that was as hilarious as it was deeply concerning, setting a brand new standard for what it means to completely lose control of a Hollywood narrative in the media age. The fascinating evolution of celebrity public relations disasters brings us into the mid-2020s, an era when the immediate, relentless nature of social media platforms meant that a single sentence could become a global phenomenon within minutes of being uttered. In the early summer of 2024, the international pop star and actor Justin Timberlake found himself in a highly serious legal situation when he was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence in an affluent, historic coastal town. While the underlying circumstances of the event were undeniably grave, the entire narrative shifted into the realm of legendary internet comedy due to a highly specific, whispered interaction that occurred between the global icon and the very young arresting law enforcement officer. According to major media reports that quickly emerged from the precinct, a panicked Justin Timberlake quietly lamented to the officer that this specific incident was going to completely ruin the tour. The young officer, who belonged to a generation completely detached from the height of the singer's late 90s and early 2000s pop music dominance, looked at the international superstar and sincerely asked what tour he was talking about. This prompted the pop star to clarify with immense gravity that he was referring to the world tour. The utter disconnect between a global icon who genuinely believed his current concert itinerary was a matter of universal knowledge, and a young local police officer who had absolutely no idea who he was dealing with struck a profound chord with the global internet community. The phrase became an overnight sensation, transformed into thousands of creative memes, merchandise designs, and casual jokes that completely overshadowed the actual legal proceedings. It perfectly demonstrated the modern vulnerability of fame, showing how quickly a serious moment of personal accountability can be completely transformed by the public into a piece of pure, enduring comedic folklore, simply because a celebrity let their immense ego slip out during a moment of intense panic. This unique brand of self-absorbed courtroom comedy was also on full display during the early months of 2023. When the Oscar-winning actress and lifestyle mogul Gwyneth Paltrow participated in a highly publicized civil trial regarding a low-speed ski collision that had occurred several years prior on an upscale mountain resort. The entire trial quickly abandoned any pretense of traditional legal solemnity, transforming instead into a highly entertaining piece of live-stream performance art. The internet sat glued to their screens as the actress navigated questions about her luxury lifestyle, her expensive winter clothing choices, and the specific emotional toll of the accident. The absolute peak of this courtroom comedy occurred when the opposing legal counsel chose to read back a highly explicit, frustrated quote that the actress had allegedly shouted during the initial collision on the slopes. When asked directly about her exclamation regarding someone skiing into her back, Gwyneth Paltrow maintained a completely deadpan, elegant composure that contrasted hilariously with the vulgarity of the statement. Her ultimate victory in the lawsuit was almost secondary to the incredible cultural footprint the trial left behind, filled with awkward celebrity lawyer compliments, discussions about lost half-days of expensive skiing vacations, and whispers of dramatic parting words delivered to her opponent as she exited the courtroom. It was a masterclass in unintentional entertainment, proving that when the immensely wealthy are forced to participate in standard legal disputes, the result is often a fascinating, laugh-inducing window into an entirely different reality. To fully understand how these moments of public relations confusion can permanently alter the history of the entertainment industry, we must travel further back into the late 80s and early 90s to look at the legendary rise and spectacular fall of the pop duo Milli Vanilli. For a brief, shining moment, the two performers were the absolute biggest musical act on the planet, dominating global charts, selling millions of records, and ultimately winning a prestigious Grammy Award for Best New Artist. However, the entire foundation of their massive success was built upon an incredibly audacious secret. Neither of the two face of the group models had actually sung a single note on any of their official studio recordings. The carefully constructed illusion came crashing down during a live television performance when the backing track began to skip repeatedly on a specific phrase, forcing the panicked performers to awkwardly dance off the stage in a moment that mirrored the future disaster of Ashlee Simpson. When the truth was officially revealed to the world, the backlash from the music industry and the public was swift, brutal, and historic. They were forced to return their Grammy Award, faced massive class-action lawsuits from angry fans, and were completely shunned by the entire entertainment establishment. Yet, in the decades that have passed since that fateful exposure, the public perception of the Milli Vanilli scandal has undergone a fascinating transformation. What was once viewed as a malicious, unforgivable act of artistic deception is now largely remembered with a sense of ironic amusement and deep sympathy. Modern audiences have come to realize that the two young performers were ultimately exploited by a highly manipulative, powerful industry system that used their physical appearance to sell music while keeping the actual vocalists in the dark. The scandal remains a cornerstone of pop history. A story that is both a cautionary tale about the manufactured nature of fame and a deeply funny reminder of the era when the music industry thought it could successfully trick the entire world. This brings us to one of the absolute most beloved, frequently cited stories in the entire history of Hollywood wildness, the legendary 1999 arrest of the acclaimed actor Matthew McConaughey. Long before he was an Oscar-winning dramatic star delivering profound philosophical speeches in major cinematic masterpieces, he was a free-spirited young actor living life completely on his own terms in Austin, Texas. In the middle of the night, local police officers responded to a routine noise complaint at a residential home, expecting to find a standard loud party. Instead, upon entering the residence, they discovered the future Hollywood icon completely nude, fully immersed in his own world and enthusiastically playing the bongo drums while celebrating life. The subsequent arrest, which initially included various drug-related allegations that were ultimately dropped or reduced to a simple noise violation, became an instant piece of pop culture legend. What makes this specific scandal so incredibly enduring and universally loved is how perfectly it aligned with the actor's public persona. Instead of issuing a deeply apologetic, embarrassed statement through a high-priced public relations representative, Matthew McConaughey completely embraced the story over the years, casually discussing it in interviews and viewing it as a hilarious badge of honor from his youth. It stands as the absolute gold standard of a celebrity misstep that actually enhanced a star's career, transforming a potential legal headache into a legendary tale of personal freedom that still brings a massive smile to the face of anyone who imagines the scene. Finally, no exploration of modern public relations disasters could ever be complete without looking at the absolute pinnacle of collective internet entertainment, the historic catastrophe known as the Fyre Festival. In 2017, a highly charismatic young entrepreneur, backed by prominent international models and massive social media influencers, convinced thousands of wealthy millennials to spend thousands of dollars on tickets for an exclusive, ultra-luxury music festival on a private island paradise in the Bahamas. The promotional videos promised private yachts, gourmet dining, elite villas, and a historic musical lineup. What the unsuspecting attendees actually discovered upon arrival was a dark, rain-soaked gravel lot filled with disaster relief tents left over from an international aid agency, unorganized luggage transport, and the now immortal catering offering of a single sad cheese sandwich placed in a plastic container. The ensuing chaos unfolded in real time across the global internet as wealthy, panicked influencers scrambled to find a way off the island, treating a poorly managed vacation disaster as a full-scale survival scenario. The event felt completely detached from reality, looking less like a real-world business failure and more like the elaborate plot of a satirical television sitcom that had somehow manifested in the physical world. The Fyre Festival disaster became a definitive cultural milestone, a moment of absolute comedic unity for the internet that perfectly exposed the profound emptiness of modern social media marketing and the hilarious consequences that occur when hype completely outruns reality. These incredible stories serve as a permanent reminder that no matter how much money, influence, or professional management a celebrity possesses, they are always just one bizarre decision away from becoming the internet's favorite joke, proving that the most memorable moments of fame are often the ones that are completely unscripted.